Hello friends, I'm Kaustubh. I welcome you to the discussion on the book The Animal Farm, which is written by George Orwell. Before moving ahead, let me request you to subscribe to this channel. Like, share and comment on this video once you are done watching it. George Orwell. His real name was Eric Arthur Blair. He has a significant India connection. His parents worked in India in civil service. Now this book, The Animal Farm, is an allegory on the Russian Revolution. That is communism. When you say allegory, it means a story, a poem, a picture which reveals a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. So, this is a book which comments on communism. But then, apart from communism, this book also helps us understand the concepts of leadership, means and ends, power, ethics in politics, role of masses in a rebellion or otherwise, and then the role of media and so on. So, overall, this book is not just about communism. It is about politics in general. So, in this session today, we'll be taking home certain quotes or points from this book which you can use in your essay and GS papers. This book and the concepts contained in it also help us understand difficult concepts in an analytical manner, so you can learn to think analytically about different issues. These concepts can be applied in the present context also. We'll see in the further discussion. The questions that arise out of our discussion, that will be your food for thought today. Now, just let me begin. The rebellion that occurs in the Animal Farm has a poem called Beasts of England. Now, these 4 lines you can use in your essay also, where the topic is regarding man and environment relationship. Soon or late, the day is coming, tyrant man shall be overthrown, and the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beasts alone. So, in the present context also, you can see all the human beings are in majority, are in a lockdown. So, this is very much applicable now also. What's the story all about? Animal Farm, the brief outline. This is a story of a manor farm which is controlled by a farmer called Jones, and then he is callous or careless towards the animals in his farm, and then one day there is a revolution in the farm, a rebellion, after which the human beings are overthrown, and then the farm is controlled only by animals, especially the pigs, which are considered to be intellectuals in that community. So it's an undercurrent. The book is a direct satire on Russian Revolution, where the different animals in this story represent the real life characters that were part of Russian Revolution. So it helps us understand the concepts of revolution, politics, power, ethics. So this is the symbolism in the book. So the rebellion. Now if you look at this picture, this is a picture of Lenin. So the way he played major role in the Russian Revolution. In this book also, there is an old pig called Old Major who has a dream of this rebellion in the animals. But then, before the rebellion could occur, this old major dies in his sleep. The human being who controls the farm, his name is Jones. This farmer is known for his carelessness, brutality, callousness towards animals. So he represents the capitalist, the human beings, the capitalism who exploit the labor. And then, you may have guessed it right, the animals represent the peasants and workers in human societies. This book also throws a light on the concept of violent rebellion with no future planning. So, one day, Jones forgets to feed his animals, and then they revolt the next day, and then Jones is thrown away from the farm. Before the animals could realize, they have done it. It's a rebellion, and they have succeeded in their rebellion. So they have control over the farm, but they don't know what to do about this freedom, how to organize the working of the farm. And then here, we can relate this to 1857 revolt that occurred in Indian history. This revolt also occurred with no further planning, no future concrete planning. Many times, when revolts or rebellions occur like this, without a plan, what happens is, one set of exploitators can get replaced by even brutal or dangerous exploitators. That's what we see after the 1857 rebellion. We also see in case of the Jasmine Revolution or Arab Spring, as it is called, that in Egypt, in most of the countries, even violent and even more exploitative regimes came into play. That is the brilliance of Gandhi here. So now you can relate why Mahatma Gandhi did not want violence for freedom. The reason is he understood that a society which gains freedom through violent means cannot remain a peaceful society. We need to have a very clear picture about future before we go for a violent rebellion, or rather rebellion. So stability of the society and assuring or being sure about what kind of regime will come further in context of freedom, liberty, rights and so on is necessary before you oppose the power. So here the commandments which the animals spell out after they have succeeded in their rebellion, they are called the principles of animalism. We are going to see those commandments, but then this again throws light on a very important concept, that why is it necessary to write in concrete form the principles that the regime or the power structure would stand on. We can relate it to our constitution also. Why we need a written constitution? Because the lofty ideas, abstract ideas of democracy, liberty, rights and so on cannot be interpreted by an ordinary person, the Aam Aadmi. The person, the last man, the poor man needs to understand what this freedom means for him. What do the rights mean to him? How is his life going to benefit? That is the reason why we need to have a constitution that is written. In that too, you can relate to paper 4 also, the Citizens Charter. So government is there to serve the people. But then what are the duties of government officers, the government staff? They should be concretely written. When the objectives are written concretely, it is more tangible and accountability can be better and more specific. So that is one takeaway from this principles of animalism. Next, an interesting character here is Snowball. He is a pig who is not that power hungry like the other one, Napoleon. But then he is very popular and idealist. So in real life, it was like Leon Trotsky. This person, Leon Trotsky, also was part of Russian Revolution. But then he was an idealist. Stalin was much more powerful. Stalin drove him away from Russia or USSR. Stalin criminalized Trotsky. Ultimately, Trotsky was assassinated in Mexico. Assumption is that Stalin got him killed. The point is, there are such popular and idealist leaders. But then, in politics, it is necessary to have the capability to save your own skin. I take a line from Amish's book, Ramchandra series. He says that for a Vishnu to rise, a villain is necessary. So many times in real life, you would see that for the hero to become prominent, you need a villain. So for Ram to arise, a Ravan was required. Similarly, Stalin wanted to consolidate power, so he created a Ravan, that is Snowball. He criminalized Snowball, painted him as the enemy of the nation, and then he could justify his own actions against the people or democracy. Similarly, this is applicable in our country, not only in mythology, but in real life also. You saw in India, the last regime, 2010, 11, 12, corruption. And then Ravan was painted, and then a Masiha is painted, that a Masiha will arrive in the next elections. So this is very basic to human psychology, that if you want a hero to rise, you need a villain. Clear? So that helps us understand the real life examples, and then you can have examples in Russia also. Presently also, Vladimir Putin, he has secured his positions till 2036. But then all the opposition is being destroyed. Similarly in Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi and the military generals, there is a power tussle. In China also, you have seen how Xi Jinping has consolidated power, and then anyone who goes against him is painted as a villain. So that is a common trend across the countries. Now we come to the interesting character, Napoleon. In real life, it refers to Stalin. Use of violence to gain power. Now that is where you can relate this rebellion, not only in Russian Revolution, but in this book, The Animal Farm, to the freedom struggle of India. Mahatma Gandhi, because he was from Gujarat, and there is significant impact of Jainism there, so he had that, at his core of his personality, he had this concept of non-violence and truth. So this non-violence he tried to percolate or permeate it into the Indian National Congress also, which fought the freedom struggle. So this use of violence to gain power was totally an anathema to Gandhi. It was not unacceptable. It was not acceptable at all. So that was it's a good fortune of India that we got a leader like Gandhi for our freedom struggle who believed in non-violence. Otherwise, look at the countries which are born in violence. Pakistan, when Pakistan was carved out after the direct action and the kind of communalism that was practiced by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and then on the first day when the Parliament of Pakistan assembled during the freedom ceremony, independence ceremony, Jinnah said that from now onwards we should forget religion and behave like a secular power. But then he had already opened the Pandora's box. Here lies the importance of Gandhi, that you can't do a right thing by a wrong way. So if you have used violence for creating Pakistan, Pakistan is going to be a violent society. This was the brilliance of Gandhi. Today, despite such a diversity and such a huge population, India has survived together. Not only survived, but India has thrived. It is because of the peace that prevails in our society. And this is the gift of Mahatma Gandhi and the initial rulers like Nehru. Leadership cult, only clothes of the oppressor change. So if you use violence to gain power, what happens is only the clothes of the oppressor change. That was Gandhi's biggest fear. Gandhi did not want the Britishers to go out and Indian oppressors to take their position. That is why he believed in moral or ethics in politics. In this book, Napoleon also makes use of sheep who can go on bleating, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So it's one of the commandments of that animalism. This signifies in the present context trolling. So this is how regime makes use of propaganda to drown out the opposition. This is not only relevant to Russian Revolution or the book Animal Farm. Just look at India also today. India or any other country. Whenever you speak against power, there are trolls, and these trolls on social media go for character assassination and then corner you, give threats. The very recent cases you have seen like this. So this is very relevant. So whenever you write your answers in your mains, you can use this example also. Napoleon, the shape, this quote of 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, and the trolling associated. So ultimately, what does Napoleon do? All animals are equal. That was the original commandment. He changes it. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So this is a quote which is very powerful and very useful when you write essays and your answers in GS mains. So what were the commandments? So this is just an example. These were the original commandments, and the red ones are the changes made to those commandments later by Napoleon. Omission is the most powerful form of lie. It is very important that many times language is used to abuse, right? So role of language, one by one, if you alter the way language is used, power shifts and then accountability goes on reducing. It also highlights a very important fact that most of the regimes, you must have seen, no matter which country we are speaking about, any conservative regime, when it comes in power, the first target is history books. The reason is they like to change the past, because once you control the past, you can control the future, and you control the past because you control the present. So past is changing continuously. People have short memory. Now this is also very important lesson from this book. In this book, when Napoleon or his team tries to change the past, a few individuals, the animals, do remember कि ऐसा नहीं था, it was something different. But then people have short memory. The propaganda is so powerful, and today you can relate it. It is social media, it is artificial intelligence, it is the way news are presented to you, the way biased news reach your screens. So in this manner, people have short memory, and then you start questioning yourself. Here, what you study in ethics GS4, conformity, is also relevant. Individual versus collective memory. So even individually, if you feel that this was not like that, but if it is accepted by a larger society, the incentive to break from the society and still protest is very less. So many times people tend to question their or doubt their own memory and go ahead with the collective wisdom. So this is the role of conformity. And then when you combine these two statements, or rather these 3 points, past is changing continuously, people have short memory, and then the issue of conformity, you will find that why such propaganda on a wider scale and changes in history, the narrative that is built by autocratic regimes. So if you change the overall understanding of the society, any person who opposes power is painted as anti-national, and then trolling begins. Next, this book also highlights a very important aspect of intelligence. In this book, very interestingly, George Orwell calls this donkey, Benjamin, the most intelligent animal. Now, if you relate to the intelligentsia, right, the intelligent people in a society, generally it is seen that they have an apathy towards social life. They have an apathy towards political life. They have an apathy towards the political system. So they are busy making profits for themselves. They are busy making their lives more secure, more prosperous and happy. And they don't care about what happens to the larger public or politics in general. So that is a very important message given by George Orwell, that apathy towards politics by the intellectuals is a main cause of all problems. Intelligence can be useless, rather it can be harmful if used to obey and not to question. So in this situation, when social media, when we are living in a post-truth world where whom to trust, what to trust, which news to trust, we don't know, everything is fake, right? In this deep fake culture, this and then there's a new term also that's called cancel culture, right? In this cancel culture, intelligence can be useless if it is not used to question or protest. If it is just used to obey, there's no point being intelligent. So it's a very important point that this book Animal Farm makes. And then you can also relate it to the Indian freedom struggle. Before the arrival of Gandhi, Indian National Congress and most other national or regional level political associations were dominated by intellectual people. But these people were cut off from the masses. They lived in their own bubbles. And that is why very meaningful opposition to British rule did not occur in the initial period. Arrival of Gandhi on the scene suddenly changed everything. Right? Masses became suddenly the source of power, and then the fear was driven out of their hearts by novel methods of satyagraha brought by Gandhiji. So you can relate the role of intelligence. So intelligence should be used to question. It should be used to change masses or bring improvement in them. Next, Boxer, the masses. How are the masses? Here in this story, Boxer is the most hardworking person, the horse. He always repeats a maxim, I will work harder, and Napoleon is always right. So these are the people who are unthinking individuals who obey their leader. So all the followers, very interestingly in India, there are terms like Bhakt and non-Bhakt. I believe the position of these two groups, Bhakts as well as non-Bhakts, is irrational. We should understand that unthinkingly we can't even follow or we can't even oppose. Both are wrong, right? So unthinking individuals who obey their leader, these are the proles. In 1984, the book 1984, it's another political book by George Orwell. He calls them the proles. These are the lower strata of society who are busy in their own livelihood generation, who care only about their hunger or well-being, and then these people do not have the ability to think beyond their daily routine. So George Orwell says these people are like ants who have a very limited field of vision. They don't see the larger plan. And then when the politicians instigate, these people are on streets protesting, looting, loot and arson. So violence. So actually when you see in India also, whenever there are debates over religious, caste or any other issue, even education, there are many people who are on the streets and they engage in violence, destroying public property and whatnot. But these people actually are not the beneficiaries of those steps. They don't understand what the government is doing and they can't see the larger picture. It is the picture that is shown by their leader that these unthinking individuals just blindly follow. So they just believe in the ideal or the story that is woven by their leaders. Ultimately, what happens to Boxer? He is the most loyal worker that Napoleon had. But then, in the end, the system disowns him. Now, this is also important to understand when you enter bureaucracy. The system just protects itself. No matter how much you stand for the constitution, the laws, or the system doesn't protect you in the end. Ultimately, you have to be pragmatic enough. You have to have that ability and acumen to save your own skin also. So, honesty, that can be said, that is the best policy. We the people. So, boxer are the masses. So, when we say in the Constitution of India also, we the people of India. So, real power is with people. But the problem is, this power is useless if it is not used to question. That is what we have seen in the last slide also. So, unthinkingly, if you follow the leader, Bhakt or non-Bhakt, both, unthinking followers and unthinking opposers, both are wrong, right? So, if you have to follow and if you have to oppose, both should be on the basis of your rational thought. This book also raises interesting points about the concept of means and ends. So, what happens is, just see how Napoleon, when he comes to power, changes the narrative. The original song, The Beasts of England, is changed, and the new song is Animal Farm, never through me shall thou come to harm. So it is like people become a means to an end. And then in your ethics, you have studied that Immanuel Kant says that people cannot be used as means to an end. They are an end in themselves, right? So that is all about humanism. So here also the concept is applicable. That the system, now this is the biggest problem that we see in India. The system has become more important than the people. System itself is supposed to be a means to an end. The end has to be empowerment of people, the vulnerable sections. But then the system has become so vested in its own interests that system has become an end in itself. And when means become an end, there is injustice in society. The farm becomes rich without making the animals richer. That is what capitalism is all about. And then power corrupts. And not only capitalism, in any structure, if the means and ends get confused, means become the ends, then the system will enrich itself without actually the beneficiaries getting any benefit. Now we understand why it is said that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Here, we can also admire the intelligence and the vision of Mark Twain, who says that patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it. So this is very important quote that you can use in your essay and even your ethics papers or otherwise also. So after having discussed the entire book, what questions come to our mind? These are the questions I'm not going to answer completely. Rather, if you can put your comments in the comment box, I would like to answer those queries. So if these questions remain in your head. So these are the questions which arise out of our discussion. This is food for thought that I'm giving you today. There is a raven, a bird in this book, Animal Farm, who always tells animals about a hypothetical, imaginary mountain that's called Sugar Candy Mountain. And he says that there you don't have to work and there's a lot of grass and everything is very goody-goody there. So it is like how religion fools people. In this life, there's a lot of injustice. So if people are fooled into believing that if you are good in this life, then you'll get Jannat or you'll get Swarg in the next life. So religion is the opium of the masses. Even this quote comes from communist only. This is a quote that comes from Marx. Religion is the opium of masses. It was Karl Marx. So to influence people, is it necessary? Is it easy to convince or to fool? That's the biggest question. Think about politics. Think about religion. Think about most of our social systems. Rather than persuading people on very strong points, people can easily be fooled as religion does it. So Karl Marx says religion is the opium of masses. So you go back with the question, to influence people, is it easy to convince or to fool them? The 7 commandments. The need to consolidate the abstract to concrete citizens' charter and its relevance. So that is the second point. Third, in this book, always when people try to protest, Napoleon instills fear in the minds of people that Jones, the farmer, will return. So the Tina factor. Now this is the most political factor everywhere. There is no alternative. Because we show fear of unknown to people. And then people in general also have this fear of unknown. So many a times in life, people keep on or cling to the old decadent exploitative systems just because they fear the unknown, that if rebellion occurs or you bring about a change, what happens next? Is rebellion ever complete? No. It's the brilliance of Gandhiji that he believed that you can't just get power with one rebellion. I would relate to the statement which was made by Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, right? You know him, former president of India. He had made a statement that eternal vigilance is the price you pay for democracy. So this eternal vigilance is necessary for any political system to be functional. Rebellion is never complete. Next question. The legal versus ethical debate, which is very important and relevant to your GS4 paper. Can law and order be used to exploit people? And if there is a choice between what is legal and unethical, or what is ethical and illegal, what do you choose? Next, the social order. Just think about it. This book raises a very important point that people have different abilities. Some of us may be good academics, some of us may be good politicians, some of us may be good social workers, some are doctors, some are engineers, and some become very good politicians. So when people have different abilities, is the division of society in classes inevitable? That some people are going to be very good businessmen, they're going to earn a lot of money. Some people are good with their hands, they're just going to work in the businesses set up by these entrepreneurs. So is the division of society in classes inevitable? That is my question for you. And then, conflicts at various levels are natural in society. Do you agree? In any society, there would be conflicts at different levels. Pride. Can pride be considered as a virtue, or can pride be considered as a vice? So with these questions, I conclude the session today with a quote which was from Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who says that, however good a constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad because those who are called to work it happen to be a bad lot. However, however bad a constitution may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. So ultimately, just having a political system which is called democratic and having a written constitution which is one of the best constitutions of the world will not suffice. Today, we have seen what is happening in US. The country which stood for democracy, the country which stood for liberty, which stood for internationalism, globalism, is today a very closed country which has become very conservative and fanatical. So, it is people, we the people. If there has to be a change, it will come only out of people, nothing else.
So friends, this is all for today from my side. Thank you, have a very nice time, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel.